And we are streaming live. So
Okay.
the recording has started.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me right now? Can you say something?
I can hear you.
Okay. How about this? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
Gee. Okay. Output. Okay. How about this? Can you say something?
Testing.
Yeah, I can still hear you. You think this? Hold on a second.
For those who have joined us, just hang tight. Our interpreter's just trying to fix her her sound. So is it working for you yet?
No. Let me go back to this. Okay. How about, okay. Okay. How about try this?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, say it one more time.
Hi, testing. Still just coming through the.
And also, I'm Armando, the Spanish interpreter, and I haven't been sent to the Spanish interpreting room. Just an FYI.
Okay. Did you get the link emailed to you?
Well, yeah, I got the link sent to me, and that's why I'm here, like here in the room. But I need to, whoever the host is, needs to transfer me into the.
There's two separate. Yeah, there's two separate links. So you're introduce yourself. You're going to leave, and then there should be a separate link that should have been emailed to you. That's specific. It's unique only to you.
Is that the one that came with Zoom? Because that's the one that
Gabe, are you there?
Okay. Rachel isn't working for me now.
Okay, great.
Fixed. Okay.
Thank you. Gabe, are you there?
Miss Poon, are you already in the interpreting room? Let's see if she hears me.
No, because you
okay.
guys will introduce yourselves first in this room, and then you will leave this webinar. So you'll exit this meeting, and then you'll go into the interpretation.
Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, I'll start the interpretation once they do their announcement, and that will send them to the room.
Okay.
Oh, they'll automatically get sent?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad we have our IT guy on call.
Awesome. Love it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I think we're just about ready to get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So Lisa, I know you're there. If you could just, maybe I'll let you later work out what we want to do with the polling. Gabe, I'm guessing that you haven't had a chance to fix that yet.
No, I'm not. I won't be able to once the meeting started here.
Okay, that's fine. So maybe we'll just skip that. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Senior College Info Night. Sorry about some of the technical glitches. We're, you know, all of this is new. Although this is our second, I guess, official webinar. Hopefully most of you, a lot of you joined us for Junior College Information Night as well back in the spring. So anyway, thanks as we're trying to get ourselves oriented here. So we do have some interpretation available this evening. If maybe our interpreters could go ahead and introduce yourselves, but we have Spanish and Cantonese interpretation. So Armando, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Sure. Buenas tardes, yo soy Armando Ramírez, soy el intérprete que les va a estar interpretando aquí el día de hoy o esta noche. Do you want me to explain how to do it also?
Sure,
just
that'd be
introduce.
Great.
Muy bien, entonces si necesitan interpretación, usted puede ver aquí en la imagen donde está un globo. Si usted oprime este globo o le hace clic, ahí lo va a llevar a las opciones de los idiomas que pueda necesitar interpretación. Entonces hagan clic en español y eso los va a llevar al cuarto donde va a estar la interpretación en español. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And Maria, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
大家你好，我嘅名叫 Maria Pan，我係今晚嘅廣東話翻譯員。一陣間咧，我會用廣東話翻譯所有嘅説話。咁如果你想聽廣東話翻譯嘅時候，請你響熒幕最下低嗰個工作嘅槓桿嗰度咧，你會見到一個地球，好似個圓圈個波仔咁嘅樣。咁嗰度側跟有一個三角形，你就撳一撳，然後咧你就會見到有 Chinese 嘅翻譯，咁你就撳嗰度，咁你就會聽到廣東話嘅翻譯。如果你唔中意，你可以撳翻轉頭去英文嘅。多謝你。Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so go ahead and if you need interpretation, you can meet the interpreter. Go ahead and click on the button at the bottom. Okay. So just a couple of housekeeping items in terms of how a webinar works. I do appreciate everyone joining us. I know that a lot of you are probably Zoomed out. Many people have a lot of work meetings and school meetings through Zoom. So thanks for taking time to join us. This presentation is going to be recorded and it's going to be posted on our counseling website. So it's available later if you ever need to reference it. If you do have questions, there's a little Q&A button on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to type in questions. All attendees are muted, so only panelists can speak. But you're welcome to add questions. And if there's a question that's really helpful or that we want to answer live, we might be doing some of that as well. Okay, so feel free, please do toss your questions into the little Q&A box. So just
Ms. Mack, I'm sorry, they haven't sent us to the interpreting room.
Oh, okay. Gabe, could you send our interpreters to the interpreting room, please?
It looks like they should be there.
Okay.
Give me one moment.
Okay. Vicky, can you help? I think you have. Vicky, maybe I'll help you. I'll let you kind of troubleshoot too. Is that okay? Okay. So I'll let them continue working on that. Thank you for your patience. So my name's Rachel Mack. I guess I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm a counselor at Mills. I'm also the counseling department chair, and I have students with last names A to FR. And we have Ms. Laux with us as well, Ms. Vasquez, Ms. Reyes, Ms. Murtaugh is joining us, as well as Mary O'Reilly, who's our counseling intern. And I will allow each person, I mean, they're all going to be presenting different slides tonight, so I'll let them introduce themselves later when it's their turn to speak. So we did have some polls prepared, but I think there was a little bit of a glitch. So, so we're going to skip over the polls, but don't worry, we have a game prepared later. We have a Kahoot. We always have a Kahoot. So we will have an opportunity to still do something a little interactive later. So on tonight's agenda, we're going to start off just going over the college application process. There's a lot of different components, and so we want to make sure you're clear on all the steps. We will be giving some updates about the latest on SAT and ACT. We'll go over steps for private college applications. We will have a brief Naviance sort of introduction and demonstration. We will talk a little bit about financial aid. We will be playing a game. We'll go over some resources for students, and then finally talk about the parents' role in the college process. So I know it's a lot. We're going to be going fast, but like I said, the presentation is available. I think and we'll make sure that the link, if it's not already up, we'll share the link in the chat box in case you guys want to follow along online as well for the slides. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Laux, who's going to be going over the college application process.
Thank you, Rachel. As Rachel said, I'm Lisa Laux. I'm one of the school counselors this year. I'm going to be doing an overview of the college application process. So one of the things that we always like to endorse with our students is a healthy approach to their application. Sometimes we worry about students who have many applications that they're filling out for which they may be a lot of reach schools on their list. So when students are thinking about building a college list, we really advise that they apply broadly. They have several schools for which they meet the average academic criteria. It's okay to have a couple reach schools, but then it's also important to have some backup schools, some schools where maybe their academic credentials exceed that of the average. We worry when students overextend their college list with many reach schools. Many reach schools are going to require a lot of application essays for students, have very few targets, and then don't have any backup schools in case they aren't able to get into some of their schools. We're going to talk about some schools that are some likely schools for many of our Mills students. And then we also want to make sure that when students are looking at their college list, that they're not ruling out private colleges purely based on the sticker price. Sometimes private colleges offer financial aid that comes close to the state public college financial aid costs. So we want to mention that as students are building their college list. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is just a comparison chart of the different college opportunities that students have after high school and what will be required, like an overview of what is required for each college opportunity. For community colleges, students just need to apply on online application and fill out a financial aid application. That will be similar this year for the CSUs. The CSUs will not be using ACT, SAT scores. We'll talk more about that in detail this evening. UCs, they also will have essays that would be required. And then in many cases, they're not necessarily using the test scores. Berkeley, Irvine, and Santa Cruz have said that they're going to be test blind. What test blind means is they will not consider ACT or SAT test scores in their admissions process. And then private colleges will require all of these things, and some even require recommendation letters from teachers or counselors, depending on what they're looking for, in addition to sending official transcripts. So we're going to talk about some of those pieces today that just you know how to support your student in navigating some of these processes.
Ms. Laux, there was a really great question that I think should be answered. It says, can you explain what the term reach means?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that. Reach is, it's, I guess I think of it as the student's academic credentials might be that of the average student applying or might not be. And that those colleges are just very competitive, where many students have very high academic credentials, and they may not be able to get in, even though they may have some of those credentials. So it sort of means two things: schools that are just very, very highly selective, or schools that the students' academic credentials might not meet the average of what that college typically accepts. All right, just some deadlines to be aware of. Our CSUs, their application period is from October 1st, starting today, to December 4th. UCs, their application is filing period is November 1st to November 30th, and private college applications period when they're looking for students to be submitting applications is typically November 1st through February. In addition, community college students going to community college, their priority application filing is in February and March. So for our community college students, there's not anything to be doing right now besides filling out your financial aid application, which opened up today. Hey, this is what we recommend for students for their college application timeline. So this past month, counselors, we've been going into classrooms and we've been helping students with finalizing college lists. Ms. Murtaugh hosted a workshop yesterday on this topic. I'm sorry, on Tuesday. Students are working on their college application essays. There's been some workshops also to support students with that. Students should be asking their teacher for recommendation letters and also completing, there's a required recommendation letter survey that's available to students to fill out if they need a recommendation letter either from their teacher or counselor that was shared with them at the private college application workshop last week and is also housed in our Canvas page for seniors. This October, it's important to submit your financial aid applications or the Cal Dream Act. In addition to requesting official transcripts for private colleges that may want them. Just a quick note on that, UCs and CSUs do not require official transcripts. Students self-report their grades onto their UC and CSU application directly, nor do community colleges require it at application time to have transcripts. It's primarily our private schools looking for transcripts. So if your student is applying to some private schools, make sure that they're requesting official transcripts this month, as well as finishing up their applications and continuing to watch deadlines. In November is an opportunity to submit the CSS profile for financial aid application. That's another piece of the financial aid process for a lot of private schools. Some schools have earlier deadlines than November, but it's important to get the CSS profile completed as a lot of times private schools give away a lot of their scholarship dollars utilizing that information. So that's really important for private colleges that require it. All right. And then December is last chance to take the ACT, SAT question mark. I think the availability of those tests has been unpredictable this year. So. All right, some updates for the CSUs. So CSUs, as I mentioned, are not using the ACT, SAT scores. Students with a 2.5 GPA or higher in 10th and 11th grade A to G classes will meet the minimum eligibility requirements for admissions. So middle students with 2.5 or higher GPA will likely be admitted to SF State, Cal State, East Bay, and other CSUs who admit students who meet the minimum criteria. So that would be an example of, for some students, safety schools. Okay. CSUs will not use the ACT. I'm sorry, next slide. For students between a 2.0 and a 2.49 GPA, they're going to evaluate the applications based on the number of courses exceeding the minimum A to G requirements, household income, extracurricular activities. Each CSU campus is going to communicate their unique criteria, and there's a lot more information than we'll have time to share today on the Cal State Apply website. So I encourage everybody to check that out for additional criteria for students in this GPA range. In addition, student athletes. They are waiving the ACT, SAT requirements for Division I and Division II athletics for students who want to play a sport in college. Students who expect to graduate from high school and enroll in Division I school this academic year will be academically eligible by earning a combined 2.3 GPA in the 10 NCAA approved courses. In addition, if students are looking at Division II school, they're looking for a 2.2 GPA, the 10 NCAA approved core courses. And your counselors, we can help if you're not sure what those 10 NCAA approved courses are and how to compute that GPA. That's something we can help with. But if your student is at all interested in playing a sport in college, the main thing to know is to complete the registration portion at the eligibilitycenter.org. Go onto that website, fill out that information, and then send the official transcripts. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight, but through Naviance, students need to submit those. But for sure, if your student is planning to play a Division I or Division II sport in college, have your student mention that to their counselor so that we can help support some of this as well. All right. Vicky, were you gonna do this part?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So I'm Vicky Reyes. I am a counselor substituting here for Mr. Stillman. So I'm really excited to be working with the caseload of NGO through Z. Yeah, you can email me if you have any questions. So what I'm going to be covering today is SAT and ACT, and there's probably some questions about this because I know this is relatively new for some people, but when you really do think about it, colleges and universities, specifically out of state and private, have been trying to remove that requirement from their applications. I know that it's a little bit different now because of this current situation, unfortunately. But at this moment, most seniors do not need to take the SAT or ACT in order to apply to a college or university. So this fall, most colleges, I think over 70% of colleges and universities made the SAT or ACT optional, or they even requested a test blind. So which means when they might not even consider it, which I will also go into that with a little bit more depth. Some information about the California schools is CSUs, for example, California State University System is not going to be considering the SAT or ACT scores. So if your student submits them, it's not going to be counted in the admissions process. They're not going to go ahead and consider it. The UC, University of California, yes, I don't know if most of you heard, but it's been in the news, been on different articles, that due to a recent lawsuit, UC will most likely be test blind this fall, meaning that they will not consider the SAT or SAT for admissions nor scholarships. So, and I will go, thank you. So what I mean by test optional and test blind is test optional means that students can choose whether or not to submit the SAT or ACT scores or any other scores, such as subject test, AP test, or any other standardized testing. It really does depend on the student. If the student does decide to add their scores into the application, then that's when the schools are going to go ahead and take it into consideration. But just remember that if the student does not put the SAT or ACT scores, it's not going to have a negative impact on them, just so you know. Test blind is if a university, for example, if a university is test blind, they're not going to factor the test scores into the admission process. So even if the student sends the scores, for example, mostly CSUs, they're not going to go ahead and look at those scores when when looking at the application process, except if when the student gets admitted to a CSU and the student does decide to go, then what's going to happen is that the universities are going to look at those test scores, and they're going to look at those test scores and they're going to see where they're going to be placed in English and math. So this is something about a comprehensive review. Some of you may know this, but for some, this might be relatively new. So historically, colleges relied on multiple factors to determine. And again, test scores is just one aspect of it. There's at least 14 aspects I know in at least the University of California, the UCs. CSUs, private and out of state, they also all have their separate requirements that also factor on what they're looking at when they're looking at a college application. So most colleges have assured that if there isn't a test score, it's not going to harm their application. So that's something that we don't want you all to worry about. For the UCs, for example, like I mentioned, they complete a holistic review. So holistic review can be something like their the student's GPA, the rigor of the class, how many classes they have taken, what are their interests in their class, extracurricular activities, what volunteer work have they done, their insight questions. That's really important. So those are some of the things that they might look when taking that into consideration. So big question of the night. Well, at least one of the big questions of the night. Should students try to take the SAT? One of the things that we have been strongly telling students is that if they're applying to a private or out-of-state college, we want them to do their research. We want them to see if those schools are going to require the SAT. If they do, we recommend signing them up only when the students are applying to their target reach schools that will accept their score, and that would help them boost their application. One of the things, I know there was a question about the district's test. The district is still trying to hold the SAT on October 14. Unfortunately, the registration is closed, but those students that submitted an interest might be able to take it on October 14. And again, it will be offered at Mills if we still take it. We're still not exactly sure if it's going to happen. We're still considering it. So again, sending scores. If the student has taken this SAT or ACT, should they send their scores? For schools that are test blind, they don't need to send it. They can send it if they want to, but it's not going to be considered in their application. It's only going to be considered when the student gets accepted. Test optional colleges, only if it straightens their application. So if they got a good score and they feel really proud of that, then by all means, go ahead and send it. If you don't feel like if the student got a really good score, then that's fine. It's not going to affect them either way, and they're not going to be penalized. Test required, so they have to order score reports by the application deadline. They have to go through either College Board or go through the SAT student website. So, sorry, I actually said, yeah, the principal from Mills said that the October SAT on Wednesday, October will happen at Mills only for senior students that pre-registered. So it's actually going to happen. Thank you. And we're gonna go ahead and pass it on to Ms. Kalani Vasquez, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Ms. Vasquez. I have students in Alpha LEI through NG. So I hope you're paying attention as we will be playing a Kahoot, and a lot of this information will be in that fun game that we play. So a lot of detailed information. I'm going to dive in and talk a little about the private college application. Thank you. So we did a workshop last week for some of our seniors that I see are here tonight as well. So thank you for listening to this again. It's good to hear it more than once. So when applying to the private college, there are several steps in the application process that I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail as I go on. So I want to get started by talking a little bit about the types of admission deadlines when applying to a private school. I'd like to highlight the early decision and the early action, which is the binding and the non-binding deadlines. So these are important deadlines, or these are deadlines to consider when applying. And if you are applying early, that it is important that you feel ready and you do your research. It is a competitive poll when applying early. So please think about it and do your research before applying, and it's important that you feel ready. The Common Application is the one application for over 700 of our private colleges. So it makes it really easy to apply to a private school, and that's online. And a lot of our students last week had the opportunity to complete their FERPA and also sync their application to Naviance, which allows us to send all their information through our Naviance program. So we have this document, which I love, that it's called Applying to Private Colleges, and it really does break down step-by-step instructions on how to sync your Naviance application, how to sign the FERPA, how to send, how to request transcripts, and you can find that on the Senior Canvas page, and I believe there's a link here as well. So please check out our instructions for details for support. An alternate to the Common App, there's some schools you may find that are using the Coalition application, which is also a alternate to the Common App, which is okay to use as well. We do encourage our students to use the Common Application because it is what we are using, because it's synced to Naviance, which allows us to send all documents. Some students may hear of or may get an email from certain colleges like UOP or University of Portland or asking about or sending information about a free priority application, which is great. And we want to share that you could still apply through the Common App and it will still be free. So please apply with the Common App anyway, even if you get this invitation for a priority, a free priority application. Letters of recommendation. So many of the colleges, private colleges, all private colleges do ask for letters of recommendation. Most will ask for 1 to 2 teacher letters of recommendation. And we do ask that students only request a maximum of 2 teachers to write them their letters of recommendation. A lot of our teachers get asked quite a bit to write letters of recommendation, so it's important that you ask early as well. And also some of the private colleges may require a counselor letter of rec. So you need to check the college admission website to see if a counselor letter of rec is needed. And I wanted to add that the UCs and CSUs do not accept letters of recommendation. They do not accept them. So when should students request letters of recommendation? We have 2 deadlines. We ask that you please give teachers and counselors at least 6 weeks to write a thoughtful letter of recommendation for you. So we created the September 25th deadline for those early applications. So that was last Friday, I believe. So if you have not asked your teacher or counselor and you're applying early, you need to send them an email tonight and make that request. And then for regular decision, that deadline is November 6th. So how can a student ask for a letter of rec? How should they request teachers? So we ask that you email your teacher and ask them to write you a letter of rec. And then from then you would submit a Naviance request to your teacher. For counselors, very similar. Please email your counselor directly and we'll have you fill out a survey and schedule an appointment with us to talk a little bit in more detail about you, and so we can write you a quality letter of recommendation. So we created what's called a parent input form, which can be found on the Mills Counseling website. And the parent input form allows us to get a different insight about your student. So if your student is applying early, you can fill out the parent input form, and the counselors can use that as additional information to write a letter of recommendation. So another step in applying to the private college is requesting transcripts. So the private colleges do want to see that first semester. So you'll need to request an initial transcript, and the mid-year transcript will be sent automatically. And once your student makes that final decision, we can send the official transcript in June. And those requests are all made in Naviance. We wanted to add, there's something called demonstrated interest. So demonstrated interest is, in other words, means that some private colleges are tracking students that are reaching out to them or attending one of their visits, one of their Zoom visits that they may have that we also have a list of, and or joining their social media page or requesting an interview. Some private colleges are tracking, and it could help your application. So keep that in mind if applying to a private college. And I believe Ms. Mack is doing the Naviance review.
Yes. So
Thank
Naviance, for those who are not familiar, Naviance is an application that we use that basically supports students in the college and career research process, as well as actually we use Naviance to actually send students materials their senior year to Common App and send transcripts as well, like send even official transcripts. Everything goes through Naviance. So it's a really, important tool, especially senior year. So what I'm going to do, if this will let me, is I just want to briefly kind of show you what Naviance kind of looks like and what some of the features are. So this is like a sample student. And if a student logs into Naviance, they can add colleges that they're thinking about as well as colleges they're applying to. And we really want students to keep updating that list of colleges they're applying to. That's really important that we have an updated list of where students are applying. I want to extend my session. Oh, Naviance. All right, so let me refresh. I might need to log in again. Let's see, here we go. Okay, here we go. So if you click on, for example, colleges I'm thinking about, and you add, students have the ability to add different colleges. The student already added some. Something that's really helpful is this Compare Me button over here. And it allows students to kind of see kind of where they stand in comparison to students, prior students at Mills. So we go back all the way to 2016. Former students at Mills who graduated, who applied to these colleges, it shows what was their average GPA and their average SAT scores. SAT scores probably don't factor in quite as much this year, but you can at least see the average GPA. So for this student, their GPA is 3.52. And if they were to apply to Arizona State, the average GPA from students who've been admitted to Arizona State from Mills is 3.48. So you see a little green check mark. So that's probably like a target school or possibly a safety school. Versus say like CSU Long Beach, the average admitted GPA was 3.87. So you see a red X. So going back to what Ms. Laux was talking about earlier in terms of like, how do you know if colleges are target, reach, or safety school? This is a great tool to kind of help you figure out like what is, you know, what schools might be within your students' sort of range. So University of Nevada, Reno, for example, would be another sort of a likely school for them, maybe Sonoma State, but you know, maybe Davis might be a little bit of a reach, right? The other helpful tool that you can use in Naviance, if you go again to colleges, you could also look at how you compare with students nationally as well. And if you click on a college in Naviance, and Naviance has all your students like GPA data, their SAT and ACT scores if they've taken it. So for example, New York University, it'll show you like the student 3.52 GPA, the average admitted student from Mills, their GPA was, you know, in the higher range. So this might be a reach school. And then you can also see like nationally what the average SAT scores were. I guess there's no national data for SAT. And then we could also look at maybe University of Nevada, Reno. I know a lot of students have been recently starting to apply more to out-of-state public colleges because a lot of our local, like nearby out-of-state public colleges, they offer scholarships to California students. So, so University of Nevada, Reno, you can see this might be more of like a target or safety school for the student, okay? Okay, so with that, we're gonna go back to our presentation and maybe I'll just talk briefly about community college.
Hey, Ms. Mack, before we move on,
Mhm.
I think we're getting a lot of questions about like letter of recommendation etiquette. Like I think maybe some students went into Naviance and did the rec letter request, but maybe haven't had other dialogue with other people to know if they got it. You know what I'm saying? Could you maybe just walk through the steps of like, you know, the best practice for asking somebody for a rec letter, given like we're in Zoom and we don't see our teachers every day, right? Like what would be what would be a good etiquette?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, normally what we typically tell students is that it's always best to ask in person if you can. For a letter of recommendation, but obviously that's not possible right now. So the next best thing is probably email. And so I know some students, I think, have been sending a recommendation request through Naviance first without asking their teacher. So it's important to ask your teacher, email them first to see if they are willing to write you a recommendation letter. And then if they say yes, then you would follow up by using Naviance to submit a request. So the other thing is if some teachers will want some additional information from students because maybe they, you know, it helps them to kind of jog their memory about like what were some of the things that or projects that you completed in their class. So it's also really important to kind of follow through on any additional information that your teacher might be asking for from you. Does that help? And then with counselors, I mean, it's kind of similar. Feel free to just email us. We do ask or actually require that students also schedule an appointment because we really do want to have a conversation with you if we're going to write you a letter of recommendation. So it'll be hopefully a little more personal. Okay. So moving right along, I'm going to talk a little bit about community colleges now. So just real briefly, some of the benefits of community college. Obviously, you can save a lot of money. There's lower tuition, and you know, living at home, you're saving on that as well. They do have a lot of great transfer guarantee programs that I think not everybody's aware of. So both for the UCs and CSUs, they have different pathways where if you take the right classes and you meet like a certain GPA minimum requirement, then you're guaranteed admission to say UC UC Davis or UC Santa Cruz. Not all the UCs have the transfer admission guarantee, but I would say, I want to say at least 5 of them do, 5 or 6 of them do. So that's a great program, especially if, say, you don't get into your first or second choice college and you were really hoping to get into a UC or a CSU and you didn't get in the first time around. Typically, it's a lot easier to get in through the community college route. So, so for a lot of students, it's also, you know, just a great safety school. We will have a registration workshop at Mills in February. It might be online, but we will have a registration workshop. And so make sure that, you know, if you're planning on applying, make sure that you don't miss out on that workshop. And then I wanted to also just briefly talk about gap year as well, gap year opportunities. So this is becoming a little more popular. I think it's especially popular this year because of COVID. A lot of students are not able to go in person to college. And so gap year is an opportunity that mostly private colleges, the public colleges do not typically offer a gap year opportunity, but basically students can take a year off between high school and college. And it's not for students to stay at home and play video games for a year. The idea behind a gap year is that students would do something enriching. So maybe do an internship or get a job. There are some actual like really enriching gap year programs that you could sign up for. But I think, you know, they have found, there's research that has found that students who take a gap year tend to do better actually when they do go to college because they just have a little more life under their belt. They're a little bit more mature. And so it's a great option for some students. There's a lot of websites out there. So if you want more information, talk to your counselor or, you know, you can even just Google it. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Murtaugh to talk about financial aid.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mrs. Murtaugh, and I am your college career and financial aid advisor. So I help you with your college.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
okay.
I think that came through to us.
Yeah. So I help you with your applications. I also help you out with doing something on Naviance to figure out maybe what you'd like to major in, as well as I help you get money to go to college. So we're going to talk about the per year estimate college costs. And as you can see, we've broken them up into 4 different categories. The first one is your community college. Most students who go to a community college will probably stay at home. So we have our registration fee, we have our books and supplies, room and board. Since you're staying at home, you really don't have to pay the room and board. Transportation, maybe about that much. And then your personal expenses. So it's between $11,000 to $19,000. It's sometimes even cheaper than that. So because there are scholarships from the community colleges. The CSUs, the difference between the CSUs, as you can see what the registration fee and the tuition is. Again, the books and supplies is about the same. And room and board, especially if you're going to be living in dorms, it's a little bit higher. There are some students that do go to San Francisco State or to San Jose. They don't want to stay in dorms or even East Bay, so they choose to stay at home. So you can take that room and board out if you'd like. Transportation, there's still gas or bus passes and things like that. Personal expenses, it's up to you, depending on what you backpack, maybe a new laptop or something that you're going to need for school. And then so for the CSU, it's about 21 to 20 to let's say 28,000. For the UCs, the registration is about 14,000. Again, books and supplies, room and board, because normally everybody lives on campus. Your transportation, that means coming, it also talks about it's coming back. You know, so if you're going to UCLA or UC Irvine or Fullerton, you're going to have to come back. So the one way to do that is you're going to have, you're either going to split the gas with somebody or you're going to, take a plane back. Or it just depends. And then of course your personal expenses. So it's about 30,000 to 37. And privates are a little bit higher. They still have the same books and room and board. And so they're basically all the same, but there's, there we go. It's between 45,000 and 75,000. So that's what the guesstimation of what it might be, because it depends on every student. So financial aid is money for college. And so we have grants and scholarship, which equals free money. We have need-based, which is determined by family income. And we also have merit-based, which is determined by the student's accomplishments. The GPA, community service, has been part of a group for many, many years, or your grandfather is an elk, so you might be able to get money through that way. Self-help is loans and work study. So when they talk about grants, we have what's called Cal Grant. And I want to talk about that because I want to make sure that everyone is asked the question when you re-register your student, your senior for school, you were asked a question if you wanted to opt out. I had 58 students opt out of trying to get free money. So I've sent out an email with a Google form that asks for the parents to fill it out again to say, yes, we want to get that free money. That's free money, that's grant money. You don't have to pay it back. It's to help the students for college. So if ask your kids if they got an email from Mrs. Murtaugh and there was a Google form attached, fill it out. It's so that Mr. Steinbrecher and myself can send the Cal Grant information to the state. Completing the FAFSA. Today is the first day that the FAFSA is opened. It's important that everyone applies, even if you're going to a community college, because there is money that the FAFSA can help you get. Colleges look for this. So make sure that when you are applying, that you are using FAFSA.ed.gov. There are other FAFSAs that they charge you. FAFSA is free. It's for the free application for federal student aid. So that's one of the things that you need to fill out, as well as your student needs to fill out. And we will be holding one at the moment. The date is to be determined, but we will be holding a FAFSA workshop. So that way we can go line by line. So again, beginning today is the FAFSA. You need to create a separate FSA ID for yourself as the parent and for the student. So your student needs to fill out their part, which is their information, their email address, their telephone number, a password, and all that, as well as you do, because that's how you're going to sign the FAFSA form, as well as log in and do your part of the FAFSA. The one good thing now that they have is if you have done your income tax, don't worry because you're going to go prior. All you have to do is, as you're filling out your income tax, you'll get to a step where it says, use the IRS retrieval tools. All you have to do is click on that, and all your income tax information for the year 2018 will be put right into the FAFSA, which is a lot easier than when I had to do it. So
I'm sorry, there's a little, we didn't update this slide. It's supposed to be 2019 IRS tax return information, not 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, so please go ahead and use the 2019. Sorry, I thought that was kind of, and that's already been done. So don't worry about it. Use the IRS retrieval tool, which makes it helpful for you and easier for you to finish filling out the FAFSA.
Hey, Ms. Murtaugh. I'm getting some really good questions in the chat.
Okay. All right.
They're along the lines of, you know, for the FAFSA, isn't that only for low-income families?
No. Well, it's not. What it is, everybody, the reason I ask everybody to fill it out is you never know if you'll qualify, because things have changed, especially this year. There's a I can't remember what the number is now, but it's, are you a displaced worker? So in other words, have you lost your job? So if you have, if your mom or your dad have just been displaced workers, so they're not working, the income's not going to be the same. So what 2019 was and what this year are two different things. That lets the college know, hey, there might be something, we might be able to help this student. So no, it's not just for people that are low income, it's for everyone to fill out.
And if I just want to jump into, even if you're making like $500,000 a year and you won't get any need-based aid, you should still apply. Especially if you're applying to private colleges. And I'll tell you why. The FAFSA, basically, it's a financial aid application, and it's the signal to colleges that you're interested in free money, right? And who doesn't like free money? So if you don't apply, then your student will not be considered for any merit scholarships either. And merit scholarships are not based on income. They're just based on things like GPA, extracurricular accomplishments. And so if you don't file the FAFSA, then you're guaranteed to not get any free money at all. So you might as well spend a little time to submit it, and then your student will at least be considered both for need-based and for merit-based aid. So that's another reason why everybody should fill it out.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, someone in the audience commented that they have an older child who got a merit scholarship, but to get that merit scholarship, they had to have the FAFSA done or they wouldn't have gotten that.
Right. Someone asked a question, when will the Cal Grants be sent out? Well, we had to send them out before October 1st. So they have, the first batch has already been sent out. So now, of the ones that have not filled out, that have not opted back in, like I said, I have 58 of them. Please go back and check your Canvas email, because in there is the Google form and the email that I sent specifically to the students that's parents had opted out, and we can send your name. We have until March 2nd, but I would prefer to do it this month, the month of October. The sooner you get it in, the sooner we know, hopefully by November, if you will be receiving any funds. So it's really important. Okay, the CSS profile. The CSS profile is used by some private schools, and you need to apply online. And then you can also check to see which participating institutions like Santa Clara or USC, San Diego State. I mean, so what the CSS profile is where it's going to go ask you more questions in detail. Maybe your family is supporting your grandparents. Maybe they're supporting them medically, or they're supporting them household, or paying the rent or everything like that, because they're taking care of your grandparents. So that needs to be put in. Or your parents are now taking care of maybe some cousins because something happened. So all those things, these colleges will take into consideration when it comes time to do the financial aid. And then some of them will require a copy of your income tax return. But remember, that was 2019. This is 2020, and a lot has happened because of COVID. So there have been some drastic changes. Financial aid applications are due. Their deadlines are earlier for the private colleges. Some of them are as early as November 2nd. So just so that you know, I just want to make sure that you check with each private college on their website to see if they take the CSS profile and when it's due.
And I'd like to add, I mean, to Ms. Murtaugh's point that I know some people's income may have changed. If that's the case for you, you can always contact the financial aid office at the college that your student is applying to, and let them know about those changes that may not have been reflected in your financial aid applications.
So financial aid for undocumented students. Undocumented students may be eligible for financial aid at California public colleges. To apply online, you need to visit the California DREAM Act and at this website. If you need more information, you can always get in touch with the e4fc.org, and that's Educators for Fair Consideration. You can also see your school counselor as well as myself. The conversations are kept confidential, just so you know. If you're planning on going to a community college, there are even counselors there that will help you with the DREAM Act or with what it is that they need in order to be able to help you get some financial aid. Fee waivers. There are some students that may request for free or reduced fees for the ACTs or the SATs, and right now that's all up in question because we really don't have them. College application fees. If you've taken the SAT and you have received a fee waiver for an SAT or an ACT, the UCs will accept 4 college fee waivers. The CSUs, it's a little bit different. You need to put in your information. If they ask, the question is, would you like a fee waiver? You click yes, and then you need to fill out the information as you go. They'll ask you how many in your family and all these things. Do you at school get free and reduced lunch? If you say yes, so then they'll go through it and they will let you know. But also understand that you can always contest it. You can always say, you know, there's no way I can do this. So we just have to go and you can talk with your counselors, or you can talk with me, and I'm more than happy to help you with that by calling the schools and everything. The NCAA, we do the same for registration for student athletes. There is a fee waiver for that, and as well as for the CSS profile if you qualify. So if you haven't signed up for the free and reduced lunch at San Antonio Union High School District, or you thought this year, what for, I'm at home, please go back to the website, fill it out, because that may qualify you for fee waivers. So if you need any information, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you in whatever way I can, as well as your counselors.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna play Kahoot now.
Woo! 7th inning stretch, everybody.
I hope everyone's excited.
So the instructions are basically, this is Kahoot is an online game for those of you who may not be familiar. But what you want to do is take out your phones and go to the website kahoot.it. So take out your phone, go to kahoot.it. Or you could, on a computer, you can also log in on a computer, but it would need to be a separate computer than the one we're showing this on. And you're going to enter the game pin 662266. Okay. So on your cell phone, go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin 662266. So we'll wait for people to get into the game. The way the game works is that there will be a question that will pop up. There'll be 4 responses, and you're going to match the correct response on the screen with the color and shape that matches, that's on your phone, that corresponds on your phone. So it'll become obvious once we start, but the first question is going to be a practice question. Okay, so the first question will be a practice question. It won't be worth any points. And then after that, the rest will be based on both speed and accuracy. And I know we have at least 100 people in this room, and I'm only seeing 50, so we need more people to join. Come on. Get out your phones.
Yes, usually we get full participation. And we have prizes, so it's a IOU for the next time we're live. We'll have some prizes for you all. We'll have extra prizes next time when we're in the auditorium again.
All right, we'll give you guys about 10 more seconds to sign in. I think even after the game starts, you can still get into the game. You just go to kahoot.it and the game pin is 662266. Okay, so we will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Woo. What a start. All right, so this is our practice question worth no points. What is the name of this 1986 movie about a high schooler who gets a major case of senioritis? Yes, most of you have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Good. We had one counselor who has never seen it.
Me.
I won't mention any names.
Oh, I guess it was worth points after all.
Oh, okay.
I lied. Go helpful meerkat.
Second question. So this is a multi-selection. When is the deadline for the CSU application? December 1st, December 31st, December 30th, or December 4th?
December 4th. It's usually November 30th, but this year they've extended the deadline to December 4th. FYI, last year the CSU application site did crash on the day that it was due on November 30th. And so that was a problem. A lot of students had trouble getting their application in on time. So please don't wait till December 4th. I would apply a little bit earlier than that.
All right, third question. Which colleges require transcripts and recommendation letters as part of the application? Only one of these is correct. Only one system requires letters of recommendation. Who is it? Yes, the private colleges. You are listening. Thank you. Thank you for listening. It's the private colleges that request letters of rec.
Next question. So when is the FAFSA, standing for Free Application of Federal Student Aid, available online? There's multiple dates, so choose carefully. Let's see who was listening. And we have a majority, which is October 1st. Great. Starts today. Start applying after this presentation. Get excited.
All right, which college system requires the SAT, ACT scores this year? What? Who's requiring the SAT and ACT? The Florida State University system is the only system requiring the SAT, ACT scores this year.
I don't know if it's the only system, but the only system listed out of the ones that were listed. Yeah.
There you go. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, that's why it's so important to do your research. So make sure you look at the colleges that you want to go to. Next question. When is the deadline for students to request letters of recommendation for early application? And there's just one question that is correct. Which one would you choose? And it is September 25th. So I know it passed. Please make sure to check in with your counselor or teachers though.
Tonight, if you're applying early. What is the FERPA waiver for? What is that funny name? What does that mean? Yes. So it lets students waive their right to read their letters of rec when applying through the Common App.
Seems like Majestic Shark is on top of the board. Let's see who can catch up. Student may request letters of recommendation from a maximum of how many teachers? Can this be a trick question? We shall see. Correct. Yes, people are listening. It's amazing.
Thank you. Round of applause, everybody, for listening. Thank you. Important details. When is the deadline for the UC application? When is the deadline? Yes, November 30th. That is the deadline. Do not apply on November 29th. Apply early.
Last question.
Last question. What is the name of the additional financial aid application for many private colleges? So many good options. Which one would you choose? I know Ms. Murtaugh just spoke about it a few minutes ago. So let's see who's paying attention. Yes, great one.
Good job.
Thank you so much for participating.
Ooh, look at the Focus B. And the winner. Ooh, Shark Attack.
Congratulations, Majestic Shark.
Thank you. We owe you a prize when we see you live.
And thank you all for participating. This was really fun for us. So we're going to talk about this really quickly. We're just going to cover some of the resources for students that we have here at Mills. So we can go next, please. So one of them is the college application flyer. So this is really important. We listed some of our webinars. We've listed some of our we listed some of the webinars, some of the schools that are going to be attending, that are going to be going to Mills virtually. So please, please, please put this added in your bookmark. Make sure that you attend if you're interested. That's really important as well. So college rep visits. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the person one-on-one or with the group like we used to before, but it's still happening, which is amazing. College admission reps are offering virtual visits to all of the students from the San Mateo district. Here are a few of the schools that are going to be coming to the district this month. Remember, demonstrated interest. So if you're really interested in the school, please attend, especially if they're private or out of state. So I know one of the things that a lot of students loved about the application process was visiting the college campuses to see if that was a place that they really wanted to go to. Unfortunately, we can't do that anymore, but there's always a way to do that. There's always a way to look at the colleges. And part of that is just embracing the virtual and visiting colleges online. They have a lot of great websites where you can see the schools virtually. And here are some of the factors that students should consider when looking for a college. Location, spirit, if you're really into spirit and love going to those football games, they have a really good football team. The school size, if you rather have a smaller school or a larger school to attend, all of these things matter. So definitely look. Because you will be there for 4 years. So again, remember demonstrated interest. I know Ms. Vasquez talked a little bit about this. So these are the different ways that you can connect with the campuses. So you can take time to research the specific campuses that you're interested in. You can go directly to the college website and put your email so you can get more information. These are 2 links that you can go to that will take you to their college and give you like a little tour. So it's a lot of fun. So please go ahead and do that. Also, join their newsletter mailing list if that's the school that you're interested in, so you can know all the important information that they're sending your way. So these are some events for families. There's going to be a college and career fair hosted by the district. It's going to be done virtually, so it's still happening, which is great. It's going to be on October 15th from 5:30 to 8. And they're going to feature a lot of colleges, about 90 or more, all the UCs, 10 of the CSUs out of the 23, private colleges, and local community college. So please put that on your calendar. And there's also another webinar that we might host. Again, it's the date and times yet to be determined. And we're going to focus a little bit more on financial aid. We noticed that a lot of families had questions about financial aid, and we want to make sure that you are also experts on the subject. So yes, appointments with counselors, please feel free to go ahead and schedule appointments with counselors. It's in the district's website, the Mills website, I'm sorry. So if you're interested, just go ahead and yeah, it'll go directly to our calendar.
And these appointments are typically for students. Parents, if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, please just go ahead and email us. But students can directly schedule an appointment with us through our school counseling website.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. If you still need help with the application process, here are the drop-in sessions that are going to be happening throughout this fall semester. If you still need more support after this, please contact your counselor, Ms. Murtaugh. We're all here to support you, and you're not alone in this process. And we also went into Instagram. So please go ahead and follow us on Instagram. You will be seeing a lot of important things there, specifically deadlines. So please go ahead and, I don't know if friend us is a thing, or follow us, there you go. Here are some online resources that we have on school. So if you go to the Mills and Counseling website, you click on counseling, you click on the college and career tab, you will find so many resources that are there. So please go ahead. If you have any questions and it's really late in the night, you just want to go ahead and think about it, go there and see if the answer is there. And this is definitely new. We're really excited about our Canvas College and Planning course for students. So this is a place where we keep all of the college information or just information for students from the counselors. So please, students, be sure to check that out. I think you're on mute, Ms. Mack. I don't know if you're speaking. And I'm passing out to Ms. Mack.
Thank you. Yes, I forgot to unmute. Okay. Oh, that seems to happen all the time. So, all right. So we're on our final couple of slides, final stretch. Sorry, we're going a little bit over time. I really thank you guys for hanging in there with us. But just a final sort of note for parents and in terms of what is your role in supporting your student. First of all, I just want to say that I am right there with you guys. For those of you who are parents, I also have a senior right now who's applying to colleges. I have a student who's also a sophomore in college right now, so I've been through the process, and I know that it's a lot. It can be overwhelming. It can be stressful. You know, you guys do have your counseling team, Ms. Murtaugh, here to support you. But in terms of what you can do as a parent, one thing, just a few suggestions. Definitely use Naviance as a tool. I know a lot of students that I speak with have no idea yet what they want to do for a career, and that can be tough because it really really does help to kind of know what you might want to major in when you're selecting colleges. So encourage them to use our Naviance career interest inventory if they haven't taken that yet. They can also use Naviance to explore different careers. So that's something that you guys can work on together. Definitely have a conversation with your student about paying for college and how much you think your family can afford. Some students I've spoken to really have no idea what they think their parents might be able to afford, and sometimes that's important in terms of like selecting, which colleges to apply to. And then, collaborate with your student on developing a well-rounded college list, kind of like what we talked about with the target, reach, and safety. You can visit campuses virtually together, help your student find scholarships. They don't always have time to go out and look for those, individual scholarship applications that might be a good fit. So that's another way to help you kind of save some money. And then last, I find that for a lot of seniors, it can be a little overwhelming when their parents are constantly asking them about like, oh, did you, request your transcripts? Oh, did you, have you been working on your essays? And it can just feel a little overwhelming. So what we do in our family, at least, is we kind of limit our college conversation to like once a week. So we schedule a time once a week where we just kind of check in. And I ask my son, like, what are the deadlines? What are the things you're working on? So that, we're not like bombarding our kids with like constant questions about college apps, because they get a lot of that senior year. So and then finally, I just want to close with this letter that was, it's an excerpt from a great book called Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Become. And it's just it's a copy of a letter that that these two parents wrote to their son. And I'm just going to read it real quick. This is our last, second to last slide. On the night before you receive your first college response, we want to let you know that we could not be any prouder of you than we are today. Whether or not you get accepted does not determine how proud we are of everything you've accomplished and the wonderful person you've become. That will not change based on what admissions officers decide about your future. We will celebrate with joy wherever you get accepted, and the happier you are with those responses, the happier we'll be. But your worth as a person, a student, and our son is not diminished or influenced in the least by what these colleges have decided. If it does not go your way, you'll take a different route to get where you want. There is not a single college in this country that would not be lucky to have you, and you are capable of succeeding at any of them. We love you as deep as the ocean, as high as the sky, all the way around the world and back again, and to wherever you are headed, Mom and Dad. And I just think this is just a lovely example of sort of the message that we hopefully want to communicate to our children. I know there's a lot of this sort of sense of like a college frenzy, especially maybe in our community, that students really feel that pressure to go to a really highly selective college, and that their self-worth is sort of tied to that. And I think if the more we can kind of communicate to them our unconditional sort of support and belief in them, belief in their success, regardless of where they go, I think hopefully the more they can feel free to just, it just helps with the pressure and helps them hopefully have a little sanity in this crazy process of applying to colleges. So final thoughts. Senior year does count. So I know senioritis is it's a real thing. We counselors definitely have witnessed that. But yeah, for the UCs, you need to maintain a 3.0 or higher, no grades below a C. CSUs, you need a 2.0 or higher senior year, nothing below a C. And in fact, if a student does get a grade below a C, like a D or an F in the fall semester, they need to notify all the colleges that they apply to of that change. But hopefully all our students are going to end strong. But do let your counselor know if you're concerned. And then also, please do check your email and your online portals at least once a week. So each college will give your student their own portal once they apply, and it's important to check very frequently because sometimes they will ask for additional information and they won't give you a lot of time to turn it in. So make sure you check frequently. All right, with that, we are pretty much done. Sorry, we went a little over time, but this presentation, along with all of our college resources, it will be posted on our college and career counseling website. Due to time constraints, believe it or not, we actually did have more slides, but we couldn't fit them all in. So once you can access the link on our website and you can look at the additional slides for some additional information. And please do keep an eye out for our upcoming financial aid night, because I think that will hopefully be very helpful too. So thank you all for coming, and that is it. Take
Good
care.
night.
Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.